Hello and welcome to another special episode of CG Innovate. We live in a world which is increasingly mobilized and enabled by digital apps. Apps have become the foundation for economies to grow, work, and innovate. But there is a dangerous side to the digital as well. We have here a special guest with us who is making headways to help people be protected from the dangerous side of digital. Today we have with us a very young digital entrepreneur, Jagrit Surisetti. He has built the app called as Apprison, which the core focus of which is to prevent people from spending unproductive time on applications. So welcome, Jagrit. Thanks a lot for being with us,
Mhm.
and it really means a lot. And what we would like to know is we would like to know about your journey because you're very young. What motivated you to take the plunge into entrepreneurship, and why an app like this? So please tell
Mhm.
us more. Thank you.
Yeah, so in my journey, it has been quite a conventional set of events, like having to go for engineering in a college, right? So I finished my BTech in 2019 in computer science, right? And after that, I went for a fellowship in artificial intelligence and machine learning to Plaksha University, which is in collaboration with University of California, Berkeley, and Purdue University. During the course of my education, what I recognized was that for a lot of people, education ends when they finish their education, and they have to relearn because they do not understand how to apply their education onto the work that they are actually doing. So what I wanted to do during that time is to understand how can I use the knowledge of technology that I have built up to actually do something which has an impact for the society, which is where I started looking for what are the core areas of concerns for people which technology is causing and can be solved by technology. So that's how I came up with Apprison, which recognizes this idea that digital devices have almost what's called like a digital takeover. So digital devices have not just now stopped helping us, but also taken over our lives. They dictate our lives in much more severe ways than any rule, any regulation as such, because we want to indulge in the technology, right? So things like watching movies on OTT platforms that exist now, they dictate a lot of how our time is spent, as opposed to us dictating that I want to do it on say watching a movie or playing a game, etc., etc. And this is prevalent in all age groups, right? So children today are busy playing PUBG or Free Fire or games like these. Parents have problem with their children spending time on these games as opposed to studying. The people who are in workplaces have a challenge in terms of productivity because they feel that they are spending too much time in either social media or social gatherings on the internet or forums, and therefore they are not able to focus too much on their work. And even for elders, right, they spend a lot of time watching religious channels on television, right, or nowadays on platforms like YouTube. And so they even are not able to spend time with their families, which they would ideally like to do, right? So what we felt was that digital well-being as a problem, which has to do with how you use your digital devices and how controlled it is a problem that does not just exist in scale, but also is prevalent in all stratas of society across all demographics. That is where we started working on Apprison. That was the problem that defined it. Now, in terms of what Apprison does to solve this, is that when we were doing our market research of what is being done to solve the problem already, we recognized that there were two phases of these problems that were individually being solved by most of the solutions that exist. First is building awareness of how you use applications. So there are applications like Google digital well-being tools or Apple screen time, which let you know how much and where has your usage been of your smartphones, right? The other area is actually trying to stop the usage. So a lot of the applications, what they do is that they stop your usage altogether. So it allows you to put applications on hold, it allows you to block your usage of applications, so that means you just cannot use it. But what we have recognized is that the problem is not that simple. It's not that if you provide awareness to people, they can stop. So it's like saying, I tell you how much cigarette you smoke and how it's harmful for your health. and it's supposed to stop you from using it. Right? So that's how the first set of solutions don't necessarily work as a complete solution. The other set is that it has simplified the problem to be as simple as I can just block it. But what research shows is that the more you block anything that has something of a addictive behavior, it just increases the craving more. Right? So if I'm stopped from doing something or from having sweets, the craving for sweets increases more in me. Right? So what Apprison does is that it combines this idea of role playing and gamification to make people feel responsible for that behavior and incentivize them to have digitally healthy behavior by providing them points and missions in order to take the best parts of what makes them want to play games or what makes them want to use social media and use it to help retain better digital behavior.
Thanks a lot, Jack. That is actually a very tough challenge. Perhaps we are tackling with a very serious problem,
Mhm.
which is going to become more complicated as more and more digital comes in our life.
Mhm.
Uh, so thanks a lot for sharing the insights on what motivated you to build the app. Uh, we'll discuss more about the app, but in between, let me ask you a few things about Chhattisgarh,
Mhm.
the startup ecosystem, because you're very young and you've just started. So tell us about what has been your experience and what you feel is good and what more is needed that you would recommend to the system.
First thing that I would like to inform you guys is that we like Apprison is incubated under the 36 INC program, or which is the incubation program of the Chhattisgarh government. So in there, what we have also felt in the entire Chhattisgarh ecosystem is that the intent is there, right? We have started quite early on. We were one of the early movers of the startup space, AIC and stuff. But what I've recognized is Chhattisgarh as a market is being considered something which is not that unique, which is unfortunate, right? Chhattisgarh has a very unique mix of people, unique mix of market positions, right? Which allows Chhattisgarh to become a market unlike any other. But what we are doing is we are trying to treat all our problems and solutions as if they apply to the entire national market, right? So there is nothing in this entire ecosystem that is being promoted to target audiences within Chhattisgarh, right? So that's one thing that I feel is something that requires a lot more work on, because Chhattisgarh and places like Raipur, which are almost becoming the new centers or hubs for the upcoming programs of the national level, what I feel is that we are taking Chhattisgarh to be too generic, right? We are just trying to average out the needs of the entire nation to say what Chhattisgarh requires. And so that's one thing that I feel is keeping the ecosystem of Chhattisgarh behind the times that it requires to be, right? So that's one thing. The really good thing about Chhattisgarh's startup ecosystem is that it is really receptive, right? So the market is ready for a lot of innovation, the market is ready for a lot of people. While it has shown real maturity in terms of product side of the businesses or product based startups, app based startups are still in a nascent stage. But again, I'll emphasize on how receptive the market is. People of Chhattisgarh, especially the urban centers of Chhattisgarh, are really receptive to new innovative products or new innovative solutions, right? So as long as the Chhattisgarh startup ecosystem understands this, tailor makes its programs or ways or the programs itself to target these requirements which are very unique to Chhattisgarh, I think it will take off really well.
Chhattisgarh is unique, that is to say the least. So, thank you for those insights. But on the same note, I would further ask you on. You're saying that the market is right. It's unique. It's receptive. Uh, but still, I would say that there's still a lot of proportion of youth. So I would like to say a few words. And what would be your suggestions to the youth of Chhattisgarh and what direction they can take, and what guidance they should seek?
Yes. What I've noticed, in fact, this is also true in a sense for almost every entrepreneur out there, but it's particularly in Chhattisgarh as well, is that a lot of people, especially the youth nowadays, are coming into entrepreneurship like they would like to go into movies. Right. So there is this star value that's attached to entrepreneurs and entrepreneurial ventures in the nation, and that's what motivates people to say that I want to become an entrepreneur, either because there is this celebrity value now that's attached to the entrepreneurial field, or because they think the solution to not wanting to work for somebody else is to work for yourself, which is by de facto, as a de facto entrepreneurship. What I recommend is that these are definitely not the right reasons to get into entrepreneurship, especially because entrepreneurship is really difficult. Right, it's not as easy as a lot of people think it is. Right, you need to hustle, you need to do a lot of stuff by yourself. In the beginning you won't have a lot of people to do stuff, so you have to wear all these hats. So the reasons that I would recommend coming in for entrepreneurship is: one, you have a problem to solve, right, and you think that you are the right person to solve that problem. And second is that you really relate to that problem, right? You feel that this is a problem that I can stick with. So there's something that I say to almost all entrepreneurs that I meet and give them this advice, is that do not fall in love with the solution, fall in love with the problem. Right, because solutions, you'll have to pivot, some solutions will not work, some solutions will work. It's just, if you fall in love with the solution, it stops you from recognizing what's wrong with your solution. But if you are in love with your problem, what it ensures is that you have the tenacity to stick with it till the end, which is almost a basic requirement for any entrepreneurial venture. So I think the moment you get the motivation right, or the reason for being into entrepreneurship right, the entire system of entrepreneurship is going to be taken to a next level automatically.
Yeah, thanks again. That's perhaps a very um, unique advice. Fall in love with the problem and not the solution. Yeah, thanks a lot. And I hope that people who would be listening would definitely take this at its face value, that focus on the problem. That is where success lies. Okay. So thanks a lot. It's for fantastic insights.